gentlemen, our next speaker is somebody that is also, much like Kenya, most likely because they're married, have worked together for a very long time with BTBY and with Brenda, and putting the beginning of this together. You've probably seen him behind the scenes, behind the camera, also putting up different slides and making sure the tech works. But he does a lot more than that. He's an incredibly dynamic speaker. Trust me, somebody that wears a shirt like this is not somebody that is just meant to be behind the camera. Our next speaker makes it happen, and he's going to show you how to as well. Give it up for Johnny Avocado!
Hello, Omaha, Nebraska! Gotta get some energy in here after the lunch break that we had, right? You guys ready to get pumped up? Yeah. Ready to learn a little bit of something about yourselves? Yeah. Would you like to know a little bit of something about me? Yeah. I'm going to share just a little bit anyway, whether you want it some or not. I brought some notes. Now, I've got a couple of coaches, and they're hiding out back, so I'm going to use these notes. They're for me, for you, so that I don't get lost in what we're doing. I want to talk to you about 4 things today. And I want to start off, though. I want to maybe recognize my wife. Everybody get to see my wonderful wife. I don't normally get to do this, but I'm going to do it. My beautiful wife, Kenya, raise your hand there. I bring Kenya up because, as many of you know, it was Valentine's Day recently. Anybody get a chance to spend some time for Valentine's Day with somebody they love? Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Perfect. Well, my wife and I don't really celebrate Valentine's Day very much either. The day after Valentine's Day means a little bit more to us. And apparently that's the day I called her back. Now, this isn't a date that really lives in my mind, but it's one that lives in her mind a lot. So she tells me every time the day after Valentine's Day, well, you know, the day after Valentine's Day is our day, right? So I got to be on and I got to take care of that. One of the things that when we were early on together, we've been together, what, 25 years now? 25 years. Thanks for that, I appreciate that. When we first got together, is any guy and woman, have you gotten together with somebody and had to make a major purchase together, like buy a house, get a car, things like that? Well, Kenya and I, when we first got together, we lived in this house that we rented. And I kid you not, I swore that I thought the children that we had were going to grow up like sailors, because the floor was so uneven that they would walk with one foot higher than the other as they walked from the kitchen to the living room. And in the kitchen, we were brand new to life, we were brand new to each other, we were brand new to the world. My wife had to stand in this crooked kitchen and wash dishes in an old-fashioned sink. There was no dishwasher. So she had to stand every day on this crooked floor and wash these dishes. Now, Valentine's Day came, and I didn't get a gift for her for Valentine's Day, but the day after Valentine's Day, the day that I knew it meant so much to her, I decided I wanted to do something about my wife standing there every day and washing those dishes. And I got to have somebody on my team, be a tech guy for me, and start this clock, because do I get 20 more minutes?
It was me.
Okay. She wanted me to keep talking about her. That's it.
Keep going, buddy.
So, as she stood there in front of the sink washing these dishes every day that I got to see, and the kids walked past as they stumbled by, I decided to myself, I didn't want that to happen to my wife anymore. I wanted her to have a dishwasher so that she didn't have to stand there and wash those dishes. Anybody ever felt that way about somebody do something nice for them like that? So I went out and I started shopping for dishwashers. Man, and we had just moved into this house that we were renting. She already had a couple of kids. I was a stepdad coming into this situation. We were just getting on our feet. And like many people, I went to the store and I was shocked. Anybody looked at the prices of appliances lately? It's ridiculous, right? It was ridiculous then. I didn't have a whole lot of money, so I went and I was like, man, I would really like to buy that beautiful dishwasher, you know, the color that matched the kitchen and all this and that. But I just couldn't afford it. It was a couple $100. And I was lucky if I had a couple $100 at the time. So I went over to this section. There's a whole other section in the Home Depot, or the Lowe's if you guys go. They'll have all of the real nice, shiny, brand new appliances there. But then, if you go over to the corner, they got a section called the scratch and dent. Yeah, right? You guys heard of this? Now, if you go over to the scratch and dent, you can find yourself a washing machine, a dishwasher, a refrigerator, whatever you need. The thing about them all, though, is that they've got exactly what that label says. They've got scratches and dents on them. And so I had just a couple $100 in my pocket. I knew we still needed to eat and probably pay rent, put some gas in the car. And I thought to myself, man, I really want to give her that. I really want to give her that good one. But I looked at the one that was there, and it had some dings in it, had some dents in it. And I thought to myself, man, I bet that thing still works. So I'm going to get it. Because even if it's not the shiny one over in the corner, I know that even if it's that dented one, that dinged one, that broken one, if I can hook that sucker up over in the corner and she doesn't have to stand there and do the dishes again, that's the work I want that machine to do. So it had dents, it had dings, it had scratches, but you know what it was? It was unbroken. No matter how many dings, dents, and scratches in it, it still worked. I took that washing machine home, that dishwasher home, I hooked it up in the corner, hooked the hose to it, hooked the power to it, and guess what happened? The very next moment, my wife, instead of standing in front of that sink, washing those dishes, got to stuff them all in there and walk away. It just worked. No matter how many scratches it had, no matter how many dents it had, no matter how many dings it had, it was unbreakable in that moment. And it got me thinking about, the face of the machine was metal. And I'm kind of one of these guys, and if you know me a little bit, I kind of go off on a tangent. I get down that rabbit hole a little bit. And I was just thinking about the face of that metal. And I realized, as I was coming to tell you guys a little bit of a story, that, man, the face of that metal reminds me of another story about being unbreakable. Now, many may or may not know, during the industrial age, one of the things that we had to do to build these tall buildings, like the one we're standing in here, was we had to figure out how to make steel strong. Now, we had steel for a long time, but the problem is steel was not strong. It was weak. They put a whole bunch of carbon in it, and it made it really tough, but it made it unbendable. And so they could only build skyscrapers to just a few stories, even if they used steel. Because when they would put the steel in the skyscraper, if an earthquake came, if some pressure came, if there was a side load that shifted, the steel would break, and the whole building would come down. Now, there was a guy, and I can never remember his name, but there was a guy that came along, and he was tasked as a steel maker. He said, if you can go and you can figure out how to make steel stronger, there's a lot of money in it for you. So he went off and he tried to do all the things that he could come up with. And now, normally, everybody was putting, does anybody know what the hardest material is in the world? Carbon. Diamonds are made of carbon. It also has the highest melting point. Carbon. You got to get it hotter than anything to get it to melt. Now, they would put carbon in steel because they thought, well, carbon is strong, that'll make the steel strong. And it did. It made it stiff and rigid and unmovable. But it was not unbreakable. So what this guy did is he decided, well, if we throw a little something like that in there, what if we throw in some nickel and some padding and some other stuff? Maybe we can do something different and we get a different result. And he did, so he made that steel, and when they put that steel out across the line, and they started to try to make things out of it, they discovered something very interesting. Is that you could take that steel, and it didn't matter how hard you beat it, it didn't matter how hard you banged it, and it didn't matter how much you bent it. That steel was unbreakable. And as soon as they could make steel that could take that shift, that could take a little bit of give, that could take the pressure and not crack, they could build buildings as tall as the one we're standing in today. It wasn't the strength of the steel that gave it its resilience. It was its ability to suffer under the pressure and bend. It was its ability to take the dings and the dents and not become deformed and less because of it, but become stronger. When we take that piece of straight steel and we bend it in an arch, it becomes one of the most powerful mechanical things that we can put in architecture. We can put so much weight on top of that bent piece of steel because it can take that weight, because it can suffer under that umbrage in a way that something that's so rigid cannot. So steel is a great insight for us to understand and begin to recognize what unbreakable is. And I decided, well, there's probably only about 10 minutes of story. I better have a little bit more for you. And so I wanted to think about a time for me when unbreakable was for me. And if I could get somebody to get me a drink of water, I think there's a bottle right behind you. Whenever I talk about the military, I get thirsty. So I'm going to tell a story. Some of you, and I didn't tell you a whole lot who I am. I'm a guy, I was in the military. I kind of came out of the military. The reason that I joined the BTBY is that we're all here for transformation. We're all here for change. I came out, they made a heck of a soldier out of me, but the thing they didn't do was make a civilian. So when I went to come back into the real world, man, the things they taught me to be good at just didn't transfer very well to the real world. You can't yell at your kid about everything. You can't blow up your wife in the house every time it doesn't go your way. Thank you, sir. So I wanted to think about one of the moments that made me feel unbreakable. And it wasn't about me, it was about one of these things sometimes that we look to. We look to symbols in the world to show us what unbreakable can be. And so I was in survival school. I was an aviator. I got to fly around an airplane. And part of the process is they take you to a class and they kind of be mean to you and they beat you up, make you live out in the woods for a while, live on your own. So that if you ever come up against all this, it's not the first time. And in part of that process, you get toward the end. And they've got you in a simulated POW camp, but they've been mean to you bad. And at this point in time, your morale's pretty low. Haven't had enough to eat. You're certainly not getting any sleep. They've been putting you under duress. They try to make you break. And at this point in time, it's their job to do it. And all of us were broken. And here we all sit, whether you was in some little rat cell, whether you was locked up in the box of rocks, whether you was just standing on infinite patrol unable to sit down. They had each and every one of us broken. But they also gave us an opportunity to succeed. And one of the things that they engineered for us was an opportunity. Now, there's another guy and a guy we called Greenfoot. Now, they were pararescue guys. They were Air Force guys. They called them Greenfeet because these guys jumped in to go save and rescue the other folks. And unlike other para-rangers, these guys jump into the trees. That's why they call them Greenfeet, because their shoes would turn green from getting dropped into foliage again and again. Now, me and this guy went to survival school together, and we got paired up and we were buddies. And the instructor came up to us and he said, "You guys are ready to graduate." And we're all like, "Heck yeah." He said, "But you're not there yet." I said, "Well, what do we need to do?" He said, "You need to do something to prove that you're who you say you are." I said, "Well, how do we do that?" They said, "Well, you all say you're Americans." This is what we were all, we're Americans. And in this POW camp, there's a simulated foreign national group that's got a hold of you. So down to America is all the stuff they would tell. And they said, "So you guys think you're Americans. Why don't you go show us how American you are?" And over in the corner, they threw down a dusty, dirty old rag. And we looked over in the corner after the guy had left, because they kind of assemble you up and then they walk away and let you figure it out. And we looked over in the corner at this rag, and it was an American flag piled up in the corner. Now, me and the Greenfeet, they don't give me much instructions, but me and the Greenfeet knew exactly what we were going to do. We were going to bust out of this cell that they had us in. They had us in a group cell. And we were going to go take down this foreign country flag, and we were going to put up this tattered, ratty-ass American flag. So we break out, we got the flag, we get over to the flagpole, and we take the other flag down, we start to unhook theirs and start to hook ours up. About that time, they come along and they get us. Throw us down to the ground, they got our face in the dirt. They take the American flag, they throw it on the ground, and they step on it, right there in front of us. And the two of us didn't have a whole lot of choice about what was going on. So the Greenfeet decided that he was going to make a big mess. He was going to make a scene, because we already had this figured out. He said, "If they stop us, I will get their attention, and you make sure you raise that flag, John." So they came, they grabbed us, and they had a hold of both of us, but he made such a ruckus and such a fuss that they had to let go of me and grab a hold of him. And when they did that, I reached down, and I grabbed that flag, I stepped in 2 snaps on that flag, and I raised it up to the top of the pole as quick as I could. And when every single person in that POW yard looked out and saw that flag on the flagpole, it was dirty, it was dingy, it was tattered, it was torn, it was trampled on. But you know what happened when we put it up on the top of that pole? It worked. It was unbroken. Unbroken. It didn't matter how many times it had been stepped on. It didn't matter how dirty it was. It didn't matter how filthy it was. It didn't matter how soiled it was, how disparaged somebody else made it. It was unbroken. When it went to the top of that flagpole, every single man in that compound turned and snapped to attention. It just freaking worked. And you are like that. It doesn't matter how tattered you are. It doesn't matter how torn you are. It doesn't matter how trampled you are. You are unbroken. Every single one of you. Now, the thing I like to do for each and every one of us, I'm getting down to my time, so it's working out just right, is I want to give you a little bit of something. I don't want to just tell you this story and tell you, "Oh man, I had a bad time," and you could live through something like that too. I need you to take away an understanding, and not to sit in this morose and this sorrow, because that's not what this is about. Being unbroken isn't about being sitting in what did almost break us. It's about understanding that we are unbreakable. So I want to give you some information here. I'm going to give you probably the second most powerful word in the English language. Now, I gave you the first, but I only got 6 minutes left, so I have to go with the second one. The second most powerful word in the English language is the word but. Everything that comes before means something, and then as soon as you say but,
It's negated.
it all goes away. So that flag was tattered, it was torn, and it was trampled, but it was unbroken. Amen. That dishwasher was damaged, it was dented, it was scuffed, but it was unbroken. And that's what I want each and every one of you to take with you in your heart, and I want you to carry it in your voice right now. I want you to have a little back and forth cadence with me. When I say but, what do you think your response should be?
Unbroken.
Unbroken. So if you feel as if the world has depressed you, deceived you, delivered you into failure, but you are unbroken. If you feel as if you have lost, if you feel as if you have been taken from, if you feel as if you have been duped, you are still unbroken. If you have been incarcerated, if you have bankrupted yourself, if you have been abandoned, you are unbroken. Now I need you to say it with me. I am unbroken.
I am unbroken.
When the world comes for you, when the world tries to knock you down, what are you?
Unbroken.
When the world tells you that your tatters and your tears and your tramples matter, what are you?
Unbroken.
When you feel defeated, when you feel deflated, when you feel as if there is nothing left, you are still
Unbroken.
Each and every one of us will suffer the scars that life puts on us. It doesn't break us, it bends us, it molds us, it shapes us. It does what those steel men called doping. That little piece of the dirt of the world gets inside of you, and it makes you be who you are. It changes the composure and the composition of what you are, and it makes you unbreakable. It's not your rigidity, it's not your unmovability. It's the fact that you can put yourself back in place if you need. It's the fact that every dent makes you stronger. Every bend makes you more resilient. And every tatter, tear, scratch, scrape is just a definition of your character. Every single one of you is unbroken, regardless of what you've came through before. Now, I know I got 3 minutes left, but I'm all out of it because I'm Johnny Avocado, and I know that I am unbroken.
Johnny Avocado, ladies and gentlemen. Johnny, it wasn't that you had 3 minutes left. It was the first time in several years that Kenya wanted to hear you talk longer. So I feel like since she forgot to turn it on, we're probably right at 20. You were perfect.
Thank you. Wow.